Okay.
2025 budget season of the Board of Finance of Old Lyme come to order.
I can't hear you.
I'm gonna get everybody's attention.
7:02 There you go. So we're called to order. I note that David Kelsey is not here. I haven't heard from David, but I would entertain a motion from somebody to seat somebody in his stead.
I'll make a motion to seat Fred. Second. Until David arrives, or
Well, we'll see what happens. And Matt seconded. So is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You're it. Thank you, Fred. Parks and, so the first item on the agenda is the Parks and Recreation Special Appropriations needs. Is anybody here to speak for the Parks and Rec stuff? Martha?
It's not, Park and Rec is not tonight.
No,
Well, it's on
the
the
other
agenda.
business.
You want the appropriations. It was at the bottom. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that you were moving it. The top. I'm here to speak for Park and Rec.
It's at the top of the official agenda.
Oh, gee, I got one put on my desk today and it's at the bottom, but that's okay. I'm fine. I got it.
No one, so.
Is that in the budget book? Thank you, Anita,
No, this-
wherever you are. Thank you for all of these big budget books. I hope you had help carrying them in.
Thank you. Okay, so the special appropriation is all I'm dealing with Parks and Rec. And the reason for this, as you know, the majority of this is swim lines. And moorings for the swim lines. As you know, last year we kind of patched things through, because Carrie Klaus, started this, did he start the season? No, I think he was. But, so we got through this season, patching and mending where we could. But, we need to do some work for that. So the things that the Parks and Rec Commission are asking for are 4 different things that were not in, are not in the budget. One of them is goose dazzling. This is for Haynes Park. And they have been in contact with Deep, and they would like to have $1,350 for goose dazzling. And they will be working with a Deep certified person who does this to see if they can help. And this will not just be for Haynes Park, it'll also do Town Woods and Cross Lane, if there's a need for it.
You said they're working with Deep?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Martha, I missed it. This is for this year or is this?
It would have to be done in the spring, and that's why
Got
we're asking for it now, because it wasn't in their budget.
So it's $1,350?
Yes, but there's more to come, so that's not the only item.
Okay.
The other is for White Sand Beach, and White Sand Beach, they will be doing they will not be putting in swim lines this year, but they were putting up swim markers. And the total cost for that with the moorings is $3,094. And that's for the equipment. It's not for installation. I'll get to that in a minute. $3,094. And those, of course, we need to have the appropriation done because we need to get our orders in so that we can have these things here. At Sound View Beach, we will need swim lines, markers, and that will be a total of $19,900. And the other item that we have is installation and removal. And our master Matt Lynch is here. Matt went out. He went out for proposals and sent it out to 5 individuals. 2 responded, and the lowest bid is $6,800. That's for putting in the lines at White Sands and Miami in and out for the season. So if you wanted to, you could do half of that for the appropriation, because the other half can go into the budget for next year.
Half of the installation costs?
It's 64 is both.
Right, because that would be the annual, so if you split it into 2 payments, which would be after the install in the spring.
Right.
the will really come until September, October.
So we could cut that down by another, so the total request for all four things, if you're including the swim line double, is $31,213.
which we can't do.
We have to go to town meeting for this.
Okay, so there's $4,000 remaining in this year's swim line budget. Does that have an impact of the numbers you just gave us?
I was not told.
We put up the 24-5 budget is 5,500.
Okay.
And as of 12/31, there's 4,000 remaining in that.
Okay, so we can spend, that can be the White Sand Beach ones and partial.
And we're,
Can't be booked that way unless you want to move things around.
Well,
well, it's just,
Okay, so 4,000 you want to take out of he's got 4,000 in his
in
budget.
swim lines, I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that's like it's not moving it from,
Does he need that for, Rogers Lake?
there aren't gonna be any swim lines.
There's no
there.
swim lines there?
No,
Okay.
in capital, they have $30,000 for Haynes Park improvements, et cetera. And I don't think any of that has been spent. That could,
Goose addling?
cover the
Goose addling capital, though?
Hmm.
I feel like that's a hard.
well, it does improve.
It improves it.
Certainly is a investment in improving the park.
No, but it's not capital.
But
I
it's
feel like it's a
also-
hard argument
Just
to make it
remember, it's
capital.
also doing town woods and
Well, he's doing that flock, which lives everywhere, right? So
So
you
Martha,
can't really separate it.
that $31,000 number, that is inclusive of installation and removal of the swim
Yep, so
lines.
we
So
can
you could
take
take another 3,400 out of that.
Can we get it down? 3, 1, 8.
No, it's gonna be, it's still
27.
gonna be,
That brings it to 27,813.
Then take
and the
4,000.
4,000.
Then we're gonna take the 4,000 out. That'll get it to 23,813.
I don't know if you have
Okay,
$3,000 somewhere.
That's fine.
You know,
Is there anything in their budget from this
Well,
year?
what's the 50% that we can move into next year's budget?
That's what we just took out.
That's
We just took
That's
out.
that 34.
Oh, okay, okay.
Martha, you said with respect to White Sands, the swim markers were $3,094
Right, and we just,
plus installation. How much is the installation?
Is that included? That's included in the
That's
68.
included in the 6,800?
well, yeah, but we broke the 68 to 34.
No, but that's
Yeah.
included in the total.
No.
Okay,
The installation is separate from the markers and the buoys.
no, I understand that, but it's included in the 6,800 for labor.
Yes. Yep.
Okay,
there's Park and Rec swim lines / supplies equipment. That was $1,000 budget that as of 12/31, there's $700 in. I mean, that's again, all related to
There's
Swim lines.
300 remaining.
What's that?
700 was spent, 300 remaining.
Oh, is that as of 12/31, that's what's been spent or what's remaining?
This is 1/3, never mind. My report's 1/3. As a 1/3, 700 was spent.
So is
Well,
the,
that's- So we only have 300 left.
So what about, is that the case with the swim lines above? Was
The swim line says 4,000
was spent or remaining?
remaining.
Right.
Well, that's what I'm,
We already had that.
So
listed.
that green column is all remaining money, not
right.
spent
That's
money.
why the swim line said
So that
700.
gets you to, if you take the 300 out, you're at 23,513.
We can get it below 20.
I know.
Is there anything else that,
Sound view facilities? No, that's. It comes with town meeting fees anyway. It's gonna.
What else? Look at that.
we already hit that one.
Buildings of
And Townwoods Park.
period maintenance, 31 left.
Oh, the 1,800?
Period maintenance, he has 5,000, he spent 31 left.
Where's that?
Repairs and maintenance. Repairs and maintenance.
I see 1833 left.
Yeah, it's been spent today.
Eight.
18 is what's spent.
Oh,
18 is what's spent.
1,800.
And that concerns me about right below it is the swim lines. So is that 4,000? What is spent or what's remaining?
Oh, no, that's gotta be remaining.
Yeah.
As of December
The
31.
swim line, I'm sure the swim lines is correct because he has not purchased.
I'm
any
looking at
swim
that
lines.
as of.
Right, that is what is spent.
That's what's
Spent?
spent?
That is what,
spent.
yes.
Are you sure? Oh,
That is
we're
what
looking
is
for
spent.
low numbers here.
Ooh. So there's not
So
$4,000
there's not.
there.
No, the
No.
gotta go town meeting.
Okay.
We're going to a town meeting
Yeah.
because that's okay. We have some ordinances to do anyway, so.
Okay. Town meeting. I mean, it all sounds like things that just need to be done.
So the swim lines are. We only have 1,500 left.
Yeah.
That
Let
makes
me
sense,
ask
'cause we're
about
not-
the aggregate number though, the $20,000 for the Soundview swim lines, markers and moorings. How much has that been in the past? Do you know?
Last year?
The problem is
Oh,
that.
Well, it's because it's, there's
From
some
last
stuff. It's not-
Hey, people,
Yeah.
guys,
Let's let Martha speak.
we don't have, Matt can tell you because he's been over to the Public Works Department where everything got dumped when it got taken out. But what you were working with is you were working with lines that should have been in a pool, not in the Long Island Sound. I won't say the ocean because everybody corrects me that it's not the ocean, it's the Sound. Needless to say, they didn't hold up well in salt water. And Matt occasionally was leaning over his boat trying to put those swim lines back together so that we could get through this season. Yes,
So goose addling doesn't fall under capital, but I think that the swim markers and the swim lines and the moorings and all of that stuff would probably fall under Park and Rec equipment facility that has a capital or has a fund that's got $162,000 in it right now.
it's okay with me.
Yeah, that's a good point. But to finish,
Right.
to finish Martha's comment, you're saying, Martha, that this year as opposed to prior years, we have to replace all of this stuff.
The
So
capital.
we don't have a historical number on that.
If you remember correctly, I think it was 3 years ago. I think it was my first year as a select person. Harry said that we needed new equipment and he charged us a large amount of money. I don't have the bill in front of me, but a large amount of money. But what he said he bought and what was actually out in the water was two separate things.
Did we go out to bid to procure this stuff?
Matt went through all of the companies that he works with to get us the best price he could.
And Matt, what was the range? Is this a low price or a mid-range price?
That's a very low price.
And in your view, it's a reasonable price?
Yes, absolutely. So in the past, once again, the beach never had a permit, so we actually got a permit for anything this year. And the equipment that currently have been put out there didn't even meet the minimum requirements of what was supposed to be there. So we have since gotten the permit. Those markers meet the minimum requirements as spelled out in the permit from the state. And then for the Soundview side, they also meet the minimum requirements. If that area does get changed, because there sounds like there may be in the works to have that area surveyed in a bigger area, those markers and buoys and chains and anchors, that would be good for the new permit as well. The swim lines, this bigger area, obviously, have to make it a little longer. So there will be some modifications for that.
Mhm.
For the buoys, you're looking at, it should be at least an 8 to 10 year minimum lifespan. Anchors as well. Chain is gonna be probably on a 3 or 4 year replacement, which is not a huge part of it. The big parts of the buoys and the anchors. You break it down, you really get 2 parts. You have the buoys, the actual like buoys that mark the area, and then we have the little float lines that match everything. For white sands, the float lines are optional.
Soundview, I didn't get this
So
number.
that you can put it in.
And
if you
insulation.
want to. We didn't have them this year, there weren't any issues, so we decided to save the expense of having to buy. The little buoys that go every 8 or so feet, which is. Probably, I think that's about another 3,500 or so. The Miami Soundview permit, those that permit's written where they're not optional. Those have to be in, which because of the traffic in that area, it's a good to have a physical barrier there as well.
Well, thank you. So it sounds like A, we have to do it, and B, it's a fair price.
We would,
So armed with those assumptions,
Mhm.
Kim, you found that we have in Parks and Recs a special fund with $100,000 in it?
There's a capital projects fund for Parks and Rec equipment and facility that's got $162,000 in it.
so is that, but is some of that money, the stuff that is geared to Haynes Park for the playground? Maybe it was about
What is it?
picnic
What was it
tables?
earmarked for?
Doesn't say. We put $30,000 in it last year from something.
Well, there's another capital
Yeah, the
fund
gaz-
for Haynes Park improvements for
The
100.
gazebo sounds like 30,000.
Yeah,
I thought the gazebo was gonna come out of the $53,000 fund that was fundraised by the Haynes Park Beautification Committee, which I don't see anywhere in this paperwork.
That wouldn't show.
It's in the,
Fund?
09 fund. That one.
Which is gonna be one, two.
So, Martha, for you, my question is, do you want to postpone the decision
And
on this and think about it this week and decide next week whether we can take it out of the special fund? That would be an
Fine,
elegant,
We won't be,
solution.
we won't be going ready. I mean, we're not gonna have a town meeting, so, week anyway, so that's fine. We'll-
it's enough.
I mean, Anita and I and Don will massage these numbers and
I don't see.
try to find out what we can spend it from. Mr. Dunn is away on vacation. I don't think he's returning until the middle of the month.
I think that would be better than trying to piece
That's
it
fine.
together
I
like
just wanted
that.
to make you aware, we proved it yesterday for a price not to exceed, but we're good. I mean, we had all our numbers, but we knew that we were gonna probably get.
So from us, you need a motion to send it to town meeting?
No,
No,
Was that-
no.
we're just postponing it.
But if I can get work with Don this week with Anita and we get it down, then you won't have to. We'll just have to do an approval from
okay.
you to say that we can spend it. And that would be perfect.
So let's go back then to the geese. What's the
geese?
1350 for?
Goose haggling, they come in
Shaking
and
the eggs.
they shake and sometimes they oil them. to-
Oil the eggs.
They oil the eggs so that they can't breathe and they set. So they go out and look for the geese nest and try to curtail a
Right.
huge goose population.
And is the theory that if the gooselings don't hatch, the parents won't stay, or we'll just
Oh, no,
have
they'll-
fewer geese?
Fewer
We'll have
geese.
fewer as the years go on.
Okay,
So we've been doing this in this area. I mean, I'm not thinking about this as specific to Haynes Park because this flock lives in a Town Woods, and I was at a Rogers Lake Authority meeting and they're all over the lake as well. So it's a big flock that's all over that area. And they've been doing this process informally for years now. Dick
Mhm.
Smith goes out and does it, and it's had, middling, obviously not significant results. I don't want to spend a lot of talking about $1,300,
only 13.
but I would like to see a plan of overall plan
I
for
do, I have
how-
everything from permitting, I have all the Connecticut state paperwork, everything is in here. That is attached and what they're planning and how it.
So-
Longer range plans.
exactly, Fred. What I meant was how that fits in a longer range plan for all the things that they're gonna do.
They. Okay,
Sort
so
of
that-
stopgap, but
here's what we sort of have talked about. We've told them that there's really to put a lot of money in. One of the, I don't want to get into their budget right now, but Candace, this is just something that we're trying to take care of. Solve a smaller problem, but when we get to their bigger problem, we have a plan and we've told them that
I'll look forward to
we
seeing.
gotta eliminate some problems before we can fix them.
So shall we vote today on the 1350?
I think
No?
we just,
Okay.
we can wait till next week.
Okay,
Let us just get it all together and we'll
all right.
go from there.
So, David, in your absence, we voted to install Fred, but I propose if the board sees fit to uninstall Fred and see David.
It's okay.
Yeah, but
He was so excited to get his book too.
So let me entertain a motion. Maybe we'll vote and maybe.
I appreciate that. Sure. Yeah.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
For a second? Any discussion? Fred, do you want to jump up and down and object?
Me 22 minutes.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You're off the hook. You're back on the hook.
Thank you, all of you. We'll go to that. Okay,
So the next item is under public safety, emergency management. Who's gonna come up?
David's coming up.
You gotta be kidding me.
Sorry. Before you get started, just want to say one, thank you to the Board of Finance for recommending that the USA expansion project go to town vote. As you know, that passed. And a quick question I have for you is which funding stream do you plan on drawing that from? And is it possibly enacted for this year using reserves or place it as a capital project in next year's budget?
Well, so I'll frame the question as this is a project that was approved by the town. And it was approved without any deferral in commencement. So I think we have an obligation to go forward as soon as we can. The question that I have for you is, what is the timing availability of the various grants that we have to finance the project?
The grants, the $708,000 is currently active through the state of Connecticut for the majority of the grant. That can be drawn upon at any time.
Is that the one
The
that expires at a certain point?
30th of June or 30th of March, 2026. The $120,000 FF&E or furniture, fixture and equipment line item is probably going to be available as soon as July of 25. The $50,000 for IT and internet enhancements is available now in the town account in the ARPA funds. So
So the lion's share of it is available currently.
currently, yes.
So I opened it up for discussion, but it seems to me we don't have the ability to defer it.
Well, if it's gone to town meeting, it's not part, is your question, should it be part of the budget process?
No, just to be-
It's out of.
It's done. It's
Yeah.
already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question is, do we have this monies available currently? With
Yeah.
current
Yeah.
funding? It got taken out of the undesignated fund. That's what it's called.
Mhm.
Thank you for the clarification.
So just to summarize, the emergency management budget for the current year is 35,342. As of December 31, 6,900 was spent. The requested budget for next fiscal year is 37,410. Recommendation of the Board of Selectmen is 39,510. All in on your sheets. Do you or Martha, anybody want to talk about anything?
Who are you directing that question to? I like Dave's budget better than the selectmen's budget. I mean, you've got, it looks like you've put phone. Board of Selectmen has put telephone in there. for $750.
That was a correction, speaking with Anita. The original thought was to be able to pull that 100% off due to the fact that I get reimbursement from Millstone. The fact that I can claim 100%, the new or the advisory policies of the Millstone Fund. Basically, they'll pay 100% of 1/4 of a cell phone. So we pulled part of it from fire marshal side, but we left it in the emergency management side because I can also draw an additional 50% of that on the EMPG side for 9 months. So we pulled it on the fire marshal side, but we left it.
So is there a similar adjustment on the fire marshal side?
Yeah, it should show 0.
But again, shouldn't we be showing the gross and then show the reimbursement on the revenue side?
That's on
It does show when when you get revenue, it will show he gets like 60,000 on one, 120
It's in
on another, and
the
it's
note.
always on the revenue side.
Yeah. But I'm just looking at
Yeah.
the budget number we need to approve. Should be what we pay for the phone,
Okay.
even though we get reimbursed. I mean,
But I think that's why the selectmen's budget is
is
higher.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that takes care of that. So really the number for emergency management is 39,510.
Yes.
So the next number went up from 750 to 1950, but the note says credit in previous year, fire department, blah, blah,
I know.
or 1,200 previously in capital for radios, et cetera. Does that mean that there's a $1,200 carryover?
No, he always had a line in under capital that was for 1,200. He had his 120,000, 60,000, and 1,200 in capital. And it's the 1,200 shouldn't be there. It should be in his budget. So it just got moved out of that line and moved into his budget.
But is that capital reimbursable? Is that
No,
1,200
that
reimbursable?
1,200 was non-reimbursable.
Correct.
But you're saying that's not a change from a prior year, it's just a movement from one line to another.
Yes. Better bookkeeping.
So we haven't even approached salaries or wages.
Right.
So that this is gonna come up with every department that we go through. In the past, we've approved the dollar amount without salaries, or
Sometimes. I mean,
approve it and know that there's gonna be adjustments or potentially adjustments.
Hmm.
I don't know what's easier.
I think doing it all at once is a lot cleaner.
So just making a note that we had all our questions answered and,
Right. So
Once-
reminding ourselves, let's not revisit
right,
Right.
what we just went through for 5 or
Right.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
or whatever.
Well, so the 24-25 budget is 35,342, Anita, and the Board of Selectmen's budget is 39,510.
Because of the adjustments made from moving things from capital.
No, I understand that, but my question is how much of that is salary? Do you include, are any of the salary numbers included in those numbers?
Yeah, they're up at the top.
Okay, so then is there a $4,000 increase in the salary number included in those numbers?
No, but BJ, you had a $1,200 increase on the line for.
No, I-
The salary.
I understand.
line, it increased, but it didn't increase because you'll see zeros in the other column, like the one the year before. What happened is the year before, you included salaries or the stipends in his grants and different separated out for a line. He included it in the capital grant. So, because it was all reimbursable, we're trying to break it back out that is in each line and not just thrown into a capital account.
Well, but my question is, of that approximately $4,000 increase, how much of that is salary?
2,000.
2,000?
That's what no, less than that, because we also moved to 750, so we had
It looks like
1,200
nothing.
1950.
See, the
Yeah,
top
it's
line is
just-
confusing because it doesn't have any,
We don't have a yellow column, so that's throwing you.
The last one's.
You did last year.
Did we?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It was the question on the very top line, the 14,000?
Right, what
They
happened
got the
is
14
last
and
year, the stipends that equaled 12,000 was in his capital account. And only 12,000 was showing on the salary side, and that was his salary. So it was just on the, entered into the budget under EM wages, non-reimbursable, and the 12,000 that was reimbursable was in his grant line that was in the 300 accounts, was in the capital account. So this year we showed all salaries in his emergency management budget.
Mhm.
So it was just more of a bookkeeping change.
okay,
Everything is more detailed
So-
into there.
The changes on the Board of Selectmen side are going to be his Zoom license for 150. The change in the 1,200 under the equipment line where we added it in for 1950. And the line for EM telephone, which went from 0 to 750. And that adds up to $2,100, I believe.
Hmm.
And that's your difference between the blue column and the yellow column.
right, but we're also looking at the
Green
The
column.
green
column to the
column.
blue column
And
to the yellow.
there's changes there that are, you've got the $6,000, that was the dam engineering inspection.
Mhm.
That's not there anymore. Assume that's been completed.
True, and now you'll see on dam engineering, 2029, we start again.
Okay, so
Parentheses.
what's missing from the 24, the current year's budget is the $14,000,
Right,
which BJ mentioned before. So it's a couple of different things. It sounds like 14,000 is more of an accounting, moving it to where it belongs. Doesn't really impact the overall budget.
Right, we had some things hidden into, well, not hidden, but it was all included in that one number. It was disclosed on the salary side, but on the budget side, it was showing up in that other number.
Right.
Why isn't it a lot higher then?
well, you
Because
got,
somebody-
Because you lost the
There's
There's a couple
6,000.
down.
There's 6,000
lost,
down, it's 5,000 down.
Okay.
Thousand,
okay.
5,000, yeah.
Why isn't the budget more spent for this year?
Dave's very frugal.
Which
That's
line item?
Well, this
the whole
is a-
thing.
First of all, it was, you're looking at as of 12/31, and there's another month of
Yeah.
budget that can go in. So there are some
Okay.
changes, like Anita just talked about the swim line, some of the accounts at Parks and Rec. I don't know what the actuals are. She did send you out have you sent out the actuals yet for 12/31?
No.
No.
1/31?
No.
No,
No.
Well, and there's no
They- they
salary.
did doing that.
has
Yeah,
been-
those get adjusted in because he gets
That's because
paid.
he pays
Right.
himself.
We ask that question every month.
Moves over and pays the second part out of this budget as opposed to the.
The top two
emergency
are,
management.
are zero.
So
So are we, BJ, would you like us to, we just discussed this. Are we going to vote on these or are we going to just make a note for ourselves that we already discussed all this and we're going to wait till wages to actually
Yeah.
approve all this?
What did we do last year? I think we
think
voted
we-
on the budgets and.
Without
wages
wages?
Separately.
Yes, we did.
Voted
Yeah,
on
so
number that didn't
I'd
include-
like to have this conversation fresh in our mind and vote on it.
Okay.
So before we do that, though, are there any more questions or discussion, Dave?
But and last year, the reason for it is because the salary committee didn't meet until way later, and that's, the numbers weren't in.
So does the salary committee have a plan to meet?
Met.
We've met
We've
twice
met
with
twice.
a recommendation to Anita.
So we might have salary numbers in a week or two, or?
I think she's put them in based on our last meeting, what the recommendation was at that point in time.
So these are valid then?
There was only a couple that were still in question. It was the intern.
Those were new positions, right?
Right.
The new positions are the
Other
only
than that-
questionable.
Off of what was recommended is what I put in here.
Oh, okay, so these,
So these
So
are,
these are good.
these numbers include the current salary recommendation.
That you and
Okay,
Andy and Anita and I worked on
Mhm.
last, in those two meetings.
we can vote on the actual
The
numbers.
Numbers, if you look under the salary table, there is, breakdown, like department by department.
Okay.
right, so the vote would be to approve or
Yeah.
not the 39,510 recommended by the Board of Selectmen. Is there any further discussion of that? And I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, thanks, Dave. Valley Star Communications is up next.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to move the volunteer fire services up. Since we have people here from the fire department.
so moved. Or second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Abstentions, so
Mr. Chairman, are you planning on doing my fire marshal's budget also?
Fire marshal
Oh, yeah,
budget's
we are.
also on here.
we'll, so let's take let's amend that motion to include the fire services generally. Including fire protection, fire marshal, emergency service retirement, that would be, the fire department is going to talk about that also. So line items 05, 40, 50, 60, and 70.
Mhm.
So, Dave, would you amend your motion to include all four of those?
It was my
Or you
motion.
guys-
I'll amend the motion to move the fire marshal up next and then the order that you recommended since he's at the table.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes. So are you going to talk about fire marshal next? 560.
So it looks like the big increase is fire marshal wages admin.
And the admin,
And the part-time assistant fire inspector.
Assistant.
those were the ones that you were, the salary committee did not approve. Because they still were under the budget.
$5,000 is
My memory
the,
on this, I thought that we had a big backlog and so that we had hired these people to do the job and then like it didn't get done. Is that why we're still?
We're talking about fire inspector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the status on that?
Currently,
Well, why didn't it get done, first of all?
part of it was COVID.
Well, COVID's over a long time.
Right, and we're going back 21, 22. And then after that, we picked it back up in 22. And then funding was not carried over in 23 and 24. So the project had to go on hold. Currently,
So
we've
with the
got,
funding we provided previously, that wasn't enough, even though that's what was.
it was there, but the timeline in constraint with the fiscal year, the Board of Finance did not approve rolling the money over into the 24 season.
No.
Yeah.
I know. But
are we current now?
Mr. Robert, no, Mr. Roberge and I've had some conversations and he's going to begin doing some of his inspections. I think the Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen felt that, it could, if we need an admin in the office, which it could help with scheduling some of these inspections for a few hours a week. That might be a better use of, the wage is than having someone else in the office. I mean, and hiring an additional fire inspector.
How many inspections are there a year?
Right now, to date, we've got 63 annual regular inspections that have been done to your average businesses. You have to date 42 specialized in annual inspections such as liquor permits, school systems, daycares, group homes. So currently we have 105 inspections.
What is it on a regular basis, though? Is that the regular basis? Like every year
Or is
you
that
gotta
the
do
total?
105, or is that backlog plus regular?
Well, currently the backlog is from South Line up 156
But
and
what's the number? Every year, how many inspections should you do on a regular basis?
out of that 63 that were generally completed, I would say probably 40 of those would be every 2 years. And the remaining 20 would be divided up between 3 years and 1 year. In
How
addition
many
to the
inspections
40.
every year do you do? No matter whether it's 3 years, 2 years, 1
60, like
year?
60 total?
How many
That's-
annual, David? How many?
42 to date, 43.
No, not to
No,
date.
like-
How many are supposed to be done?
40,
Before COVID.
How many?
40, I would say there's 43 annual inspections that have to be done
Okay.
every year.
And out of how many total inspections are on the list? About 270?
Give or take.
So the backlog is 230?
No,
No, they don't all have to be done every year.
They're not done
Depends on
every
the
year.
type of business, right?
But so if every year you've got to do 45 inspections, that doesn't require somebody part-time to schedule 45 inspections. That's one thing. Secondly, what is our backlog?
Stop one for a minute though. That does not include different types of things that come involved, like for building projects, where he has to go out on building, like for the senior center or the schools. Sometimes there have to be inspections at the schools if new equipment's put in.
But, okay, so it's 100 phone calls.
Pardon?
It's 100 phone calls, right? Let's just say.
He's asking for 4 hours a week.
So that's 200 hours a year
And
for
remember,
100 phone calls.
There are other things that admin can do as far as getting things ready for, and to take a load off Anita, as far as getting bills together for reimbursement for his grants. And those types of things to get that paperwork together. So it's not just scheduling. It would be somebody to oversee getting all that paperwork together. If Dave is out of the office doing an inspection or whatever, can be starting to put that together. And then when he gets back, he'd be able to process it.
But is it
remember,
fair to say, just on the numbers, that you have to do less than one per week to complete this?
right now I usually do 1 per week.
And so we need staff support to do 1 inspection per week.
No, I need staff inspection, that staff support to be able to do the administrative end of the fire marshal's office. And also I'm looking for a part-time fire inspector at 4 hours, 5 hours a week to be able to continue with the rest of the inspections. One thing you keep to forgetting, we work 1,560 hours a year. Out of those 1,560 hours, my time here reduces it down to approximately 3.67 available work hours per week with my vacation time and my sick time
So you have
and my
You have
compensation.
3.67 hours per week, and you have to do one. Does each
3.67
inspection-
days per week.
You've got 3 days per week, and you've got to get 1 inspection done per week, and we don't have enough capacity to catch up.
Not to catch up, not with everything else comes in. Between fire inspections, doing the annual inspections, doing specialized inspections, doing permitting process of all the temporary tents that we do in this town, all the special events that we're involved in for the life safety aspects. Also working with fire department with fire prevention programs. And along with fire investigations and follow-up. Out of 1,560 hours, my time load is down to 1,145 hours, which breaks out to 3.67 hours per week.
3.67 days or hours.
I'm sorry, days.
Okay, big difference.
Yes.
Is there a schedule put together of what it would take to catch up?
We're working on that
Working on.
with HR.
Hey,
The
Dave,
question has come up year, month after month, year after year.
are
And
these hours, the 5 hours or the 4 hours, dedicated and locked in? Or is that an availability and you call on these people as you need them?
locked in as needed.
What do you mean?
That's both.
It's two different things.
In other words, are you guaranteeing them 5 hours and 4 hours?
I am offering them 5 hours a week to be able to do. the
Even if we don't have
inspections.
work for them, they're
There
gonna
will
get.
be work
There
for it.
will be work.
There will be work. Because remember, every inspection with a violation found, it takes, you have to turn around, formally notify the occupant of the violation, give them a timeline for correction, and then go back and do a reinspection to see if the violation's been corrected. And if not, it's a continuation of back and forth.
All right, so the total increase for those two is about about $12,000, 7 plus 5.
Well, the total is about 20,000 in the department, right?
Yeah,
No, for the department, but just the
But
fire marshal, assistant fire inspector, and the wages admin, the increase is about 12,000.
Well, because the other thing you have there is an extra person to do the H2O water supply.
Right, remind us what that is. That's
That
the
is not an
5,000.
extra person. That is doing maintenance on the established water supplies. Working with the fire department and especially Lieutenant Rand sitting over behind me, we are in the process of finalizing the inspection processes of these fire wells to determine their competency and capabilities. And I think she can attest at the same time that the majority of these wells or water source supplies need some kind of maintenance. The most critical one that sticks in my mind is 230 Shore Road, where we have a established draft site sign and ability to draw from that draft site. But on every attempt the fire department has made to test it, it is incomplete and inoperable.
what if this is that information that I sent you after the meeting in, was that January?
And yeah, I understand the work and the concept, but who's going to do this? Is it current employees or a subcontractor?
It'll probably be a subcontractor due to the unavailability of public works personnel to put it into their schedules.
But Public Works can help when they can.
Yes. Using 230 Shore Road as an example, that would be about $2,500 to get a jet rod truck or a vacuum truck in to try to clear that line and maintain it. But physically, as we continue to move forward with this project, one of the things that we're still lacking is a formal memorandum of agreement with the private property owners to allow the fire department to actually go on their property.
Mhm.
So current funds and current capital for the water supply project is being reviewed by corporate or town council to be able to come up with proper wording to be able to go door to door to these private individuals and ask them for a memorandum of agreement.
where did the $5,000 number come from?
I base that on 2 to 3 days worth of vac truck work
A year.
per year.
But there's 93 locations.
Not all 93 of those locations are gonna be viable. Correct?
Correct. Jess, you want to jump in on that one?
We don't know yet, we can't go out then, really, we can only put feet or trucks on the ground to be publicly owned currently, because we don't have the letter out to or back from home.
Right. We don't have permission to go on private property, to even try to attempt to test them.
Any further questions, comments?
Just in closing comment on this, this was a line item that was carried by the Board of Finance many, many years ago with a smaller dollar value. I'm talking probably 10 to 15 years ago, and it slowly, through administration changes, slowly got deleted and dropped off the books completely. Now that we're working on this project to reestablish these water supplies, we put it in this year for as a placeholder to keep going.
Mhm. Well, if there are no further questions, can I have a motion to approve? What's the total? 104,562 for the
Do we-
fire marshal?
Do we want to include these other wages since that they were not recommended yet from the salary committee?
Fire inspector, the part-time fire inspector was not recommended by this board of selectmen.
I missed that. What are you saying? What is this?
Part-time fire inspector was not recommended by this board.
Right.
It
So
is
the-
expected, I'm not gonna get into a job review here, but
Mhm.
I have told you, we are working on a
So numbers wise, the Board of Selectmen would recommend the 104 figure less 7,280.
3,000 of that, I believe, is from Mr. Duddy.
3,000 is in the 82.
I'm sorry, yeah. So on the 82, we approved the 72, 80, not.
Okay.
Right, so then this chart is incorrect. This chart includes the 7280, but you're taking it out.
So minus the 7,280, the bottom figure would be 97,282. Right, yeah.
And Martha, are you saying that you haven't decided against it? Is the Board of Selectmen still thinking about it?
We say that if you would like a part-time administrator for a few hours a week, that will help get the paperwork stuff done, that's fine. But the inspecting, I believe, is in his job description and he needs to get it done. And that's all I'm gonna say on that matter. Just
So why don't we approve the 97,282 tonight? And then once the salary committee and the Board of Selectmen decides exactly what that is recommended to us, does that, and we can always change it later?
Change it.
Well,
Yeah.
We can go down, we can go up.
We could, but what I'm hearing is that the Board of Selectmen is recommending against approving the 7280.
But the salary committee hasn't.
No, the salary committee is done.
Oh, okay, you're all set. Oh, all right.
Salary committee is done.
Okay.
which I thought we also mentioned this the other day.
Yeah, we did. I mean, it says in Anita's notes on the far right-hand column have those two positions, salary committee question.
Right.
But I would agree with the motion for the 97,282,
Okay.
saying we can, between now and April 15th.
Right.
We can add or subtract anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So rather than hold up, the selectmen have some questions, let them come back to us with their recommendation and
Well,
just keep moving.
but the recommendation is to disallow it.
But
Yeah,
Dave,
which the 97,282 does disallow it.
Correct. So what I'm saying is the Board of Selectmen has left it up to this body, the Board of Finance, to accept or reject that number. And the motion on the table, I think, did you make the
Yeah.
motion, Anna?
So moved.
Anna has made a motion for the 97,282, which excludes that
Yeah.
number. Is there a second to the 97?
Well, is that the recommendation of the selectmen?
Yeah.
this time, yes.
Okay, that's
So-
fine. Because
so
you
the-
just said it was left up to us, which is not fair.
No, no.
I'm
Right.
taking there.
We're taking their recommendation.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, but we don't have to accept the recommendation. The 97 accepts the recommendation. There's a motion on the table. Has it been seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay, so then is there any further discussion of that number? And somebody could say, I don't like it. I think we should increase it.
So,
And
so what we're saying there is that number that's in there under the Board of Selectmen recommendation actually should be 0.
correct.
The reason why I was there under the Board of Selectmen is, Jim mentioned last night, he wanted to know how much difference was between what they approved and what was actually this and the other lines. So we wanted to do a full total of that whole line. And the only way to do it is I have to fill in all the salary numbers to make sure that I got the total number correct on the bottom.
Okay, so the motion is the 97,282, which is to accept everything except that line item and to delete that line item.
Mhm.
Is there any further discussion of that? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
So without having the funding for a part-time fire inspector, basically the town will be without a fire marshal for approximately 415 hours a year. Based upon my vacation and sick time available.
We'll see what we work out. We'll have more updates as we go into March.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's now back to the Board of Selectmen to see whether
We got
this
it.
decision
Yeah.
creates a problem that you want to address.
Okay. Want to do capital?
Thank you, sir.
We don't have
So
capital
we've
on the
done-
agenda.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times we,
Done
when
our
the department
Sometimes
is
you
here,
sneak
we
ahead.
at least take a look at capital and ask any questions.
Did you want to ask him about his, I wanted to review his capital budget, BJ? It's
Okay,
not on the agenda, but sometimes we just have him do that. So when we talk about capital later. he
Or I
doesn't
can come back at another time.
Martha, what was your contemplation in terms of capital and scheduling?
I'm happy to do whatever you want. We're here. If you want to go through it, it's
Sure.
not, yeah, I don't think it's that many, items.
So he wants a new car. He wants that Mercedes.
Right. $1,000, just needs tires.
Where are we?
What do you got, Dave, outside the 1.5?
Communication upgrade, right?
Oh,
Yes, the 60,000 on radio upgrade. This year, I'm not gonna be able to pull any millstone money to help support that project. So keeping it going, we've still put in the line item for 60,000 to keep it consistent. And also the 120 for the millstone equipment and labor fund.
And 120 gets reimbursed.
Yes.
If
I spend it, if I
you
draw from it,
Right,
it gets reimbursed.
right.
And then the 60,000 is town funds going to keep the radio upgrades going.
So why do we have 160,000 in there for the request for that?
We would like to ask you for 160,000 to keep it going, but
No, where am I?
I guess because we've been funding this for a few years.
300.
60,000, 60,000 and 120 in the current year budget.
correct.
Yeah, my colors, my colors are just not easy.
What page are you on?
Okay.
I'm on
page 3 of the capital plan.
Two.
Page two. I think there's a lot of things I think that
And it's
he can
good
answer to.
because it's in red. Right here. Yeah, these four
Yeah.
lines is what I'm looking at.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, okay, up here.
But communication upgrade is in
So
black.
the total for the project is 520,000.
Correct. That was estimated on 2023, I believe.
And we pretty much, with the last 2 years and this current year, we have about half of that,
Correct.
about 240,000.
What's the timing of upgrades themselves? How does it work? If we funded 240, how much have we spent and how much do we have left?
Everything that we've budgeted for up till current has been spent and the equipment has been received or is in the process of being received. The problem that we're running into is the supply line delays of placing I placed the order on July 2. From there, I have a quote. I place the order. The order goes to the state of Connecticut to review the uniqueness of the programming that goes into it. From there, it goes to the supplier who places the order. Now, that order delivery may be anywhere between 90 and 180 days.
But the 520 hasn't changed.
No.
And so.
No, that was a placeholder identifier using these numbers as a progression throughout the years to give you a bottom line on what it would be.
Right, so.
Those numbers probably will change because of increases in costs from the manufacturers.
So that would be, it sounds like we probably do need to do a little bit more work because that's not an insignificant number. So
No,
if
it's
that
not.
has changed and had gone up. And also the timing, because if you just said that it's delayed, why would we budget 160 if we're expecting more delays?
Because it takes a year to, all right, as an example, the order that I placed in July 2 of 2025 or
Yep.
2024.
Was 120 grand?
2024.
Yep.
Was 120 grand.
Okay.
We are finally starting to we should be receiving that order probably sometime by the end of February.
So your expectation in this budget year would be that you order 160 grand worth of equipment out of the 520
Yes,
and you order it July 2nd
yes.
to get a year. Okay.
Now, normally, if I was pulling from Millstone, that 160 would be reduced.
Well, it would be offset.
Offset, yes.
So then the only question that I have is that 520. Because if you truly expect to order 160 grand worth of this required upgrade, then I'm okay with personally, I'm okay with the 160, but I want to know when the pain ends.
Yeah. Is it gonna be 600? Is it gonna be?
And is it 10 years from now and it's time to do it again, or whatever?
Don't know. I haven't got an answer on that one for you this evening.
How many P2 radios are we actually?
About 40 mobiles for fire, EMS, PD, and public works at about 9 grand a piece. And then approximately 60 portables for fire, EMS, public works, and PD.
And how many do we have in house at this time?
Right now, I believe that we've got about 15 to 20 mobiles in fire and EMS. And off the top of my head, I want to say about 25 portables, either in hand or ready to be distributed or shortly to be distributed by the end of
So we
February.
have
March.
about 1/3 of what we need for fire. You said we have 15, you're saying 40 mobile total?
Yeah.
So about 1/3.
Give or take, yeah, just for fire.
These numbers add up to more than 520,000.
Yeah, I was seeing that too.
Yeah,
Well, not if you start with 24, 25.
no, but look, we already
No.
had 60,000, like,
Correct.
it's an extra 120,000.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, are you counting the green column?
yes.
If you look at the.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't count
last
both.
column,
Don't count both.
Right?
It's
Or
a
no, yeah,
six-year
you should.
total.
No, you should. It's,
No, you
look,
should.
it's 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25,
let's
25,
let Dave
26, and we go
answer.
all the way out till,
Answer that.
it's an extra 120,000 in here.
So the
So-
question, Dave, is
If you look at
whether
what
the
it's-
budget amounts in the 22, 23 and 23,
current
24,
plus
where
five.
there was 60,000
So it
each.
doesn't count.
Is that
Oh.
part of the upgrade?
So
and were
that
those
is
dollars
six-year
spent?
total, the other years were not.
In
Those are this, if you count it up, 1, 2,
Fiscal year
3, 4,
24,
5,
25.
6, it's,
No,
you're
before that. the
still
2 years prior to that,
$120,000
the
under,
two-
over.
this sheet
Well, I
says
mean, the
in the two
520
budget years prior to
is
that,
actually 640.
Yeah.
in the 2 years prior to that, there was budgeted $60,000
Yeah.
each year for communications upgrades.
But that's
1
not,
year, 2 year,
Excuse
3,
me,
4,
Mr. Chairman?
5, 6.
Yeah,
You're
you
having
don't
a
even have to count
conversation
that.
and we have other conversations
Why-
going on.
Fair enough.
why would the,
I mean, you
Because that's been
could,
the
you're
formula
distracted.
you're having your conversation. I can't hear
Correct.
either one.
Okay,
We've got
but he-
another one going on over there and
All right.
he
so
just said it's a $520,000 project or but it's not. It's a $640,000 project. I'm
Oh, yeah, well, that's
concerned with what that
Oh, okay,
says.
no, I'm saying, my numbers go here.
Yeah,
6 years.
okay, but that doesn't make sense for what is in here. So is it 640 or is it 520?
20.
So let's let Dave answer that question. You understand what the question comes from?
No.
Okay, so starting this year, the budgeted amounts add to 520. But during the 2 prior years, there was a $60,000 budget item in each year.
Did we use that or did we just not? Was that never spent?
it was carried over, I believe.
So that's why it's a 520,000.
Okay, now that I see the line items you're speaking of, which ones are you referring to?
We've been discussing this project as a $520,000 project, but when you add up all of those lines, it adds up to 640,000. So I'm assuming then that the $260,000 from 22, 23 and 23, 24 were not spent. Those were carryover. Did we just not get those? They just didn't get ordered or placed, or maybe they didn't get delivered or something.
From 23, 24.
22, 23. And the column next to it, 23,
See the
24. There's
60 grand.
260 grand.
Two of them. Did those get spent or not?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
So they did get spent. And so this year we've budgeted 120, which you said you'd ordered.
yes,
So that's 240 grand.
yeah.
And now you'd like 160 for this coming year. So that's 400 grand.
Yeah.
And then subsequently, you've got 2 more years coming up with 120 and 120 that gets you to 640 grand,
Right.
not 520.
So in
I think
27,
that's honest question.
That's just my question. Is
so
it,
we can
Okay.
take the 27, 28 out.
can we, or do you need that?
You can either add it properly or take out the 2028.
Well, but do you need it in 2028?
No,
way-
it's 27, 28. Let's not.
27, 28. As we continue with this, 27, 28, the radios, let me find the light item again. The radios that are purchased in 2028 will most likely begin to start replacing
Okay. Okay.
the radios purchased in 21 and
Alright,
22.
so this is just a permanent.
So this is a permanent project.
Which is fine. We just need to know that.
Call it a permanent project because we're not at the end of the upgrades yet. I think once we get to the end of the upgrades and everything's been improved and there's no longer older radios out there, at that point in time, if we had to go with ongoing maintenance, then it would create a whole new line item and a whole new proposal to maintain the system.
So that defines the question. Will the upgrade be completed prior to the 27-8 fiscal year?
Depending, it's mostly dependent upon manufacturers' availability.
Well, in
So
other
it's a
words, saying, will the
$640,000
upgrade be
project.
completed
It
for
sounds like it's a
$520,000?
$640,000 project.
That's all I needed to know.
I've
So I
seen
think
radio,
we just strike the 27,
I've
28.
seen these costs of these units go up twice in the last 3 years.
No, but that's a different question. I
Well,
mean,
the numbers are still numbers.
right, but at the time you're making the estimate, you're thinking a complete upgrade can be accomplished for 520. We're not gonna hold you to that if prices go up, but that was the estimate.
Okay. Yeah.
And so my reading is that means we don't need the 27, 28. We may need it for maintenance, we may need to spend it,
Or
but
we
the
may,
upgrade will be completed.
I'm hoping that it's completed by 27, 28.
And you can provide us with an update as folks come in for.
I mean,
future years.
it doesn't impact our approval for this budget. It just impacts the accuracy of this spreadsheet.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, so going forward, because again, I inherit the way this spreadsheet was, and the column, the last column always said 5-year total, which actually was a 6-year total when you checked the formula that was in the previous spreadsheet. So that is why I renamed it to 6-year instead of 5.
Mhm.
But if you want me to carry all 10 years that are here, because I can do that, it's a formula. It's very
Yeah.
easy to change.
I mean, I think we just need to, I think that we just needed clarification on what that 6-year total was. And then for this particular project, wanted to clarify what the total project cost was.
Anything needs to be changed, I can
That's my take on it.
So so do you want?
No, I think it's fine the way it is.
I think
It's
it's
just
fine
this,
the way it
this was supposed to be a specific
Okay.
project over a certain number of years, and it looks like it had creeped a year, which it may
Got
need
it.
to, but that's for future years.
Okay, so the issue before us for the 25-6 budget is to approve the 280,000.
But we're not gonna do
Right.
capital right now.
Right.
We were just getting
We're
the
just
information from
talking about
Dave since he was here. So we
Okay.
can talk about it more when we all forget what we
And it's
just talked about.
260, 260, right?
Okay.
Is that?
Anything else that you'd like to know?
Questions have been answered.
Run.
Don't say anything.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Ed.
you.
Thanks, Dave.
So volunteer fire services is the next line item.
Good evening, all.
Mike,
How are you, chief?
Good, good. All right. I promise I'm a whole lot simpler than that.
I hope. I believe you guys have it. Our whole booklet is intertwined in your booklet. But for anybody that doesn't, there's extras on the table. That is just our fine print. Operating budget, not any huge changes dollar wise, but we did close some accounts and combine some accounts. So you will see, coming down the operating budget, for instance, computer software. I know my sheet might be a little bit off of what yours is, but computer software, 0500 100 is negative 100%, but then computer technology is up 67%. That's because we combine those two accounts. Basically, we've combined a couple accounts from an invoicing standpoint. We have vendors that do both things for us, and they don't separate it out very well, so it becomes an invoicing struggle. So we found that combining the accounts is just making everybody's life easier. Same thing with the apparatus inspections account, 0507 502. You'll see that's negative 100%, and then the apparatus maintenance account is up 90%. Those two accounts are combined. Same reasoning, the vendor that does inspections and maintenance gives us one invoice per truck and everything is done in one shot. So rather than trying to divide it all out on the billing side, it's just making things more streamlined. We have a couple new accounts this year. First off is the testing stipend of that is the 2100. Yes.
Got it.
That is a new account this year. It is a stipend for our testing services that come in for NFPA. So our hose testing, our pump testing, and our ladder testing. These companies come in and remove the hose from our trucks and do all the testing, but we have to be present in order to operate the trucks, move them around town to wherever those testing sites are. And it's just getting harder and harder to get people to take time off of work and burn their vacation time to do it. So that stipend is to basically promote some of these guys to come in and do this for us. Otherwise, we can't get this testing done. So that is what that new account is for. As far as the wages on it, we broke it down from the FEMA numbers. As far as firefighter services go, let me just find that page and I can give you the spell out on it. So of the $2,100, ladder testing is 2 members for 4 hours. That's 280. The hose testing end of it is 3 members for 12 hours, 1,260. And the pump testing 8 hours for 2 members of 560. That's what makes up that 2,100. Another new account that has come up this year is PPE inspections. So along with ladders, hose, and pumps, NFPA now wants our gear inspected every year by a third party. So this actually started last year. We had enough in our PPE budget to cover it to get the ball rolling last year. This year, we've created a new account so it doesn't affect our PPE purchasing budget. So we can stick with the standards, the requirements from last year, and then this will be moving forward. This is a third-party company that comes in and basically tests, washes, repairs, serializes every single piece of fire gear that the town owns. And then spreadsheets it, and that way we know for changing it out when it comes at its 10-year due date. But also if we ever had an NFPA inspection, everything is ready to go, just like hose and ladders. We hand them all the maintenance end of the paperwork. The final new account we have for this year, and it's not really new, it was just moved from capital, the portable radios. For some reason, that maintenance account, purchase and maintenance account was always in capital. I don't know why it was like that, but they, Anita decided it should be moved over. So we've moved it over into operating. That is, so not really new, just a new place. Is there any other questions I might not have touched on from the operating standpoint?
Yeah, Mike, I went through your book and
Yep.
you gave me a 3-ring binder and I have a few questions.
Sure.
Back to compliance pump testing and service. There's a request of 2,800 that's been there for the past several years, more or less, but hasn't been spent in the past several years. Is that?
That, no, we have it done every year. So let's
So take a look at that. My page here.
Which one is that?
Which one is that?
Is that pump testing and
It's like
service?
508, 509.
509.
509.
I'm not looking at this sheet though. I'm looking
Okay.
at the book that Mike distributed.
Mike, I think that was one of the questions we brought up the other night, that we wondered if something had gotten, misallocated on a bill payment.
Yeah, because that's pump testing is something that happens every single year. This year, for instance, pump testing service hasn't happened yet. Obviously, cold weather, but that's normally a spring thing for us. But it does happen every single year.
Last year they spent $2,090.
All right,
Yeah.
so it's just, this is incorrect.
Right. I would say that form is incorrect.
I mean, this is in this book, it's.
That's fine.
Mike, do you know the name of the vendor for that, so we can?
So
Payment?
it, for last year, yes, and I can look back for past years. That is one of the things that changes a little bit because the pump testing vendors, they go out of business. And we've had a few testing agencies for like 3 years straight. And I think the last 3 years, we've had a new vendor every year. So I can go back in my records and get you
Use the
everything.
name, then we can check to see
Yeah.
what the payment was allocated to.
Yeah, I have records for every single year. So
And then next question, Mike, there's a new item, and you may have mentioned this as I was flipping through for PPE inspection.
Yep.
Seems to be new this year for $9,700.
correct. Yep.
Is that a new requirement or?
It's a new NFPA requirement is to have our gear third-party tested, just like the hose and ladders and everything else that we've always had to do. Now they've thrown this into us. Started last year and we pulled the money out of our PPE budget to get on track with it. So this year we're starting it as a new
Sure.
account going forward.
Is that every year?
Yes, that's every year. Yep.
Then for a tack hose, the past couple of years, well, this year's number is only half of the year. But in the 23-24 year, the 5720 wasn't spent at all. So my question maybe for Anita is, do we have money in the budget to carry over for the 1 3/4 and 2.5 inch hose?
So as far as hose purchasing goes, it is a little bit fluid because it depends on what ages out and what fails every year. So if we didn't have any if we didn't have any attack hose age out or fail, that money wouldn't have been spent. This year, current year, when we did our hose testing, we had a ton of 5-inch fail. And that's why that line right now, this year, we're not going to touch the attack hose or the fittings budget because that's overspent this year.
I'm not quarreling with that. In other words, your calculation that you need 4075 for this year, plus that being true, the
Yep.
question is, Anita, whether we have any prior years carryover. We can figure that out at a later time.
According to this
one
on
was
here,
spent.
that's wrong. That says, according to this, as of 12/31, it's 5397.
As opposed to 5720?
No, it's
spent.
Wait,
It's
what?
spent. It's,
Oh,
it's spent.
Oh, so this is incorrect.
It's 5397 spent. Yeah, so that's not left. There's
Oh.
like a couple $100 might be left in there. And he just said it's fully spent actually. So
Fair enough.
It's overspent by 10,000.
Yeah, that was that big failure we had.
Found out about that in December, or
Yeah, I think, October, somewhere in
like that,
there.
somewhere
Yeah.
early on.
So though, right, this year, for instance, with the overspent on 5-inch, we're not touching the a tack hose line. We didn't have any fail. We didn't have any age out. So we're not ordering any. And that money can counteract the
Yeah,
5-inch
solid.
big spend. So you won't see that spent this year.
So and there are a couple of other similar questions and maybe similar answers, but that'll
He's-
sort out when
he's
we go
looking
over
at
the
this.
carryovers. In other words, if we have a budget item and also a carryover,
It solves the issue, yeah.
That's what
Thanks,
he's
Mike.
looking at. He was noticing that in this book, in this binder, whatever this is, it was 0. I know, but this said 0. Yeah,
So BJ,
that's what
I'll
he's
get the ball
asking.
rolling and move the 275, 229 that's recommended.
I'll
second.
second that.
any discussions?
Yep.
275, 229, going once. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
All righty. Do you want to talk about anything capital
Why don't
or?
we just look at it while you're
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Right?
Well, but let me ask, if we're not gonna vote on it tonight, doesn't it make sense to talk about it and then vote on it when it's the discussion just fresh in our minds?
But if
Whatever
we
you'd
can
like to do.
answer the questions now, or if you need more information, it gives us more time to grab something
Yeah.
before you go.
I guess there used to be a capital committee, but I guess there isn't anymore.
Okay.
So, I mean, similar to the salary committee, we had a capital committee, went through all the capital and kind of weeded through it. As part of the selectmen's process now, they ask
We go.
as part of those meetings, so maybe it makes sense to just approve it
All right. We'll go to
department by
capital.
department or whatever. I don't know. It's up to you.
I mean, I like the note taking to yourself that my questions were answered. So when we come back to it.
They only got 3 things in capital.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which, the air bottles, that's a known.
Right. So the air bottles, that's a known. The air packs, we're coming up for replacement of townwide air pack replacement. We have applied for a grant for it. We don't have the results of that grant until October-ish of next year. So what we've done is outlined what the town could be responsible for if we don't get the grant. The grant, we can apply for it every single year. So if we don't get it this year, we can try again next year and so forth. But the 27.6 for this upcoming year, that is a first installment to get the ball rolling for the packs. If we get the grant, that 27.6 is the town's portion of the grant to replace everything 100% under the grant.
Okay.
So either way, that 27.6 is either going to get us rolling or it's going to be the town's portion of the grant. And if we don't, like I said, if we don't get it, we can keep on trying. But that's a pretty big endeavor as far as the packs go. Same thing with the air bottle capital line. We have 14,000 this current year that we're going to start replacing the bottles. We have 15 in there next year. If we get the grant, that account goes away because the grant covers air bottles. It's all one big shot. So we're preparing for it in case we don't get the grant, but that will be something that goes away if we get it. The other capital item is apparatus replacement. So
I got the paving.
that must be an Eric thing. That's an Eric
Okay,
one.
all right.
Eric, but the apparatus one is on the last page under transfer, because that's the money that will go.
Oh, yeah. We already
The old
budgeted.
one, fire department go down the bottom where it says other funds transfer.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I see them.
So on the we're on apparatus side now? Okay. So the apparatus side of things, we're on the 25-year replacement for every single truck, as we always have been. What we're facing is obviously costs and build times. So trucks were a whole lot cheaper and they were getting built in 8 months. Right now, we're pretty much a 4-year build time from the time that you sign the dotted line. So what's happening money wise for us is when we take delivery, like the rescue right now, the rescue truck is ordered. We probably won't see it complete for 3 to 4 years. The year we take delivery of the rescue and finish paying for it, that next year, engine 2 needs to be signed for to start the build project to receive it in 4 years down the road. So money wise, it's a lot of money really quick, honestly. Beforehand, we'd have, 3 or 4 years to save for a truck, where we're kind of condensing it down into less than a year. So we projected out on I believe you guys have our page 4 of our packet. We have it all spelled out for you as far as what the money looks like. This current, 25, 26 would be the last payment towards the rescue replacement, which is the truck that is ordered currently. We are currently under budget, so the money in that account right now pays for the rescue as long as we meet the current emissions standard. In 2026, truck emissions are changing. So we ordered the rescue chassis a few weeks ago, a month ago, in hopes that we take delivery of it in 2025, so we won't have to deal with 26 emissions, saving us $100,000+. So the last payment of $175 to the rescue might not get used if we get this chassis in the lower emissions. So that $175 would then get rolled toward start funding engine 2. That's 5 years down the road. And then the forestry, forestry 2 for 25 through 27 funding. That is another truck that we applied for a grant. If we get the grant, that money could get pushed down the road to the next replacement. So these numbers are projected out till 31, but it might be a whole lot less come 28, 29, 30 if we get some of these grants and some of these emission regulations.
Who do you apply the grants for?
They're all the FEMA grants. Yeah. So FEMA fund is pretty much covers anything we apply for as far as air packs, equipment, trucks. They have certain categories for everything. They have their specialty each year. So this year was a big one for air packs and thermal imagers. We don't need thermals, but we could jump on the air pack train. So every year they have something that they kind of focus on. And we're trying for it. Obviously, it's a big savings to the town if we can get one of them. So it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort to get these grants in, but there's big reward there too. So, so that's the truck outline, just so we can see what it looks like out till 31. And like I said, the funding might change a little bit if we can get some of these grants under our belt.
So the total for this year is the 443,500.
Correct. And that would be the last payment of the rescue, the first funding of the forestry, and the first funding of engine 2.
So Martha, do you want to postpone voting on that? Is there anything else to be decided?
I thought the last time we just did capital here, we decided we were going to just.
Wait till the, no, we didn't.
No, we said we discussed it and we would vote on capital as a total.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
So you would
Okay.
discussed it, we checked it off that we've discussed them and then.
Alrighty.
Right. I think that rounds out everything for me, unless somebody has any questions further.
When does everybody else get to speak?
I think maybe Rob might be next. If you're doing the incentive stuff next, but Rob can talk about that end of things.
So we've got fire protection and emergency service retirement.
That's Rob.
Rob's emergency service.
Yep.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks all.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Connecticut water,
Oh, it's just a bill. Okay.
which doesn't hit, you guys hit the top of page sheet.
Oh.
All we own is-
Because the big question is, what number do y'all have?
172. Sounds good.
There we go.
This one. No, this is emergency services retirement.
Yeah, there's information about that in the book. Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, and so, and it is a jump up. If you, I don't know if you got last year's number right there too.
Yep.
The big jump is about a $60,000 jump that, and actually it does come down to an accounting thing and I'm not sure how it all works, but it is an ordinance that we are in the works of trying to update. Is the tax abatement is currently $1,000 per eligible person. The state of Connecticut has a statute that allows it to go up to $2,000. And so that actually happened a few years ago, but we finally caught up with, or are catching up with it. And so we looked at the ordinance for the town and we're trying to get that revised to be able to go up to $2,000 per person. We've got approximately 60 people that are eligible between fire and EMS. So it does cover both from the volunteer services. And so the simple math is it goes up $60,000.
Rob, this, is the state statute mandatory or permissive? In other words, do we have to go up to 2,000? Okay, so if it's a town ordinance, the question is, will the Board of Selectmen propose that as an ordinance change?
We've already briefly discussed it because we put it on our list of ordinances that needed to be updated.
Mhm.
There is a Connecticut general statute that it arrives under and we felt that it was fair. It's
Okay,
been sitting there for, and they have like 3 years behind. They're 3 years behind in when it should have been caught and possibly changed.
so it seems to me if the town adopts the ordinance, towns have to approve an ordinance, right? So if the town adopts the ordinance, we have to fund it.
Mhm.
And so today's vote would be sort of subject to having the ordinance approved, the money is available based on this decision tonight,
Right. If it doesn't get approved, then the total would be about $112,000. So.
whatever.
And when I say the accounting side, so that's the tax abatement. So it gets a lot more convoluted as far as some of the dollars can go to people's incentive plan, but tax abatement, is it actually a cost, like an operating cost, or is it really, it does reduce what comes in for taxes on the tax side of things, but that's your problem. So.
Any questions, Rob?
And Rob is, we're gonna work out a magic playbook because he knows all the ins and outs of this.
Which
So-
playbook?
The accounting one.
Formulas and the things so that we follow the rules correctly going forward.
I mean, I just have another math question. If there's 60 people and they get $2,000 a year, that's not 172,000. So how do we get to 172,000, Anita?
Well, they get 1,000.
Yeah, so this,
The incremental is
No,
an extra
no,
1,000.
there's actually, there's another number in there. That's actually almost $1,000. So these numbers total, and I guess I didn't explain all of it. Let's start with the tax abatement. So there's also, we have an incentive plan
Okay,
that is like an investment account
okay.
that is approximately $1,000 per
Okay.
person.
Mhm.
And so
That's
it's
where it
actually
is.
900 and something, and we do incrementally increase that every year also.
Perfect.
And
But-
it's also $8,000 in fees for passing. They charge 1,600 or 1,625.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it gets up to 160.
Any other questions? And a motion to approve the 172.
I'll make the motion to approve the 172 for the emergency services retirement.
Second.
Anna seconds it. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
I have just a question, Martha. Is it expected that we go to town meeting to approve an ordinance
Ordinance,
prior to the budget?
Yes,
Okay.
we're aiming. So school budget is May 8th. So Rob has already had a conversation with Mike Carey and it's a simple, relatively simple change. And so we'll get that ready and then we have 2 or 3 other ordinances that will go all at the same time.
Yeah.
It'll be a simple town meeting.
And if it doesn't look like it's gonna happen, which it should, we can just reduce it to the 112 or whatever.
Or not spend it, even if it happens after the budget's approved.
It's
The
60,
town meeting happened in
60,
June.
right?
So, you know,
All right. Good. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, look forward to your support with the ordinance too.
And what's fire protection?
Water
bill.
water bill.
The water bill.
There's no debate.
You have to pay it?
Yeah.
If you want water.
All right. Well, let's take
We
a
don't
look
always
at-
have that number right now. Do we
550.
have the number for them?
Anita, if you look at your notes over on the right-hand side,
It's right
basically.
at the very top of the,
Yeah, there it is.
On the next page, so she estimated increasing it by 6, what was it? We also added 2 new hydrants in because Connecticut Water was doing some work down in,
Right.
so we did increase 2 hydrants down in the Miami Beach area.
So it's going from 52.5 to 53.4.
I'll move to approve $53,400.
Second.
Any discussion?
53.4.
53,400.
53.4.
No discussion? Then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Abstentions. Okay.
no, Mike did.
I appreciate the audience. You guys can stay as long as you want. But I think, we're done with fire and, harbor.
Night, Dave.
One thing did come to my office. There was a question. I don't know where it originated from finance. But they were wondering with the EOC expansion project, if the line items that are currently existing in regards to the roof replacement and the furnace or the boiler replacement, if those were gonna be absorbed into the project, and they were. So.
That's included in the numbers.
And we
Yeah.
correct.
Project, so it shouldn't be in the budget.
Yeah,
We did, we made the
We heard it.
correction.
just figured I'd.
Thank you.
give that to you.
Thanks, Dave.
So Valley Shore Communications, 510.
That was for, that's Kelly, before. And they're projecting a 4% increase. He doesn't have a definite number yet, but there's gonna be no more than 4%.
Should we then not vote on it tonight?
I can only tell you 4% right now. I have an email from her and I have not gotten the final from them. They have not passed the budget.
So why don't we, Michelle, why don't we postpone that?
The other option is if she gets an
Just change.
email that says it's 5%, then we can add the money.
Yeah, I don't care.
Well, so.
What page
right,
is it? Where are we?
This is a 4% increase. I think.
Right. We're on page 1.
I will say
Towards the
this
top.
Kelly's usually pretty accurate. If she knows it's not supposed to go over 4.
Just come back just to get minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so it's,
So we're not gonna vote on that?
Yeah, ambulance.
going, oh, wait, no, but the Valley Shore, we're gonna vote on that?
No.
No. we're not.
Okay, you're gonna postpone that. And put that on the postpone list, Michelle. And then 520 is going from this year's budget of 182 to the proposed budget of 195.
From that meeting that I sat in on, the two increases were they're looking for a second ambulance on the summer, Thursday and Friday to cover that.
Correct.
Some paid holidays. That's why the top line's going from 156 to 166. And then adding money for training, adding $2,000 for training.
That's exactly right. So most of it is to enhance the summer ambulance
Service
service.
training.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Move to
And
approve 195,000 for the ambulance.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion, any abstentions? Motion passes. Good. Animal control.
I believe, Lynn, are you on the line? I think you're muted. Let me unmute you, but I think Lynn is on. If you have questions.
Yeah.
Here, hold on. a
Yes.
second. Doesn't let you unmute.
So there, there are changes on a few line items of a couple of thousand each.
Okay, but there is one, if you look over to the side in red.
Yeah, I
After
see
the
that.
Salary
It's-
committee met. Lynn brought to our attention, she came in the other day to,
Lynn, try to unmute yourself on the phone.
she came in to request that she would like her part-time person, who currently is at 11:45 total hours a year, be increased to 15:08. And then she wanted to hire a cleaner for 6 hours per week at 16, at minimum wage 16.35 an hour. That would increase her budget an additional $14,888.
That's not in,
That is not, and she came in after the salary committee met
Martha, did you guys discuss this?
the other day. She said that, it's been a lot, she's doing a lot of hours and
Did Board of Selectmen
No,
discuss
because,
this?
no, we did not.
Okay.
Come before us, but, we understand her reasoning for it because they're straight out and we don't want Kim going into overtime. There's also been some changes where we used to have comp time, but we have not been following the rules correctly for comp time and, our labor attorney called us on it and said, if someone doesn't work 40 hours a week, they can't have comp time. So if you're scheduled for 29 and you work 35, you pay them for 35. Or they can adjust their schedule the next week to work less. But you're not supposed to be doing comp time for those people that are 40 hours or less.
So the other thing I'd be concerned about is, and maybe this is different for municipalities, but in business, you have to be very careful with part-time people who are working at 28, 29 hours consistently because they could claim, I'm full-time, I want benefits.
Right.
So I think to budget for somebody to be working, which that 1508 is 29 hours a week. And scheduling somebody at 29 hours a week, we're probably going to end up having to provide benefits for this employee and make them 30. I mean, I'm not saying that's what I advocate for. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
that's where we're going if we do this. So I think we need to go there with an open mind. And I know the benefits are a higher, would be, make more of an impact to our budget than bringing this employee to 29 hours a week.
I tried to tell her that. Lynn,
So,
you're hearing me. Hang up and dial back in. And then you'll be unmuted and you can talk.
So my
You can hear
reading,
me, hang up, dial back in.
My reading of this is that Lynn is currently working at only 30 hours a week. And she would like her part-time person to be increased in hours. So the question that arises in that situation is whether, rather than increasing the part-time person, Lynn's hours should be increased above 30 hours. Now, at 30 hours, is she considered part-time or full-time at 30?
Full-time.
So she's already full-time, so we're already paying benefits for Lynn. Is Lynn on the phone?
She hung up. She hung up, but she'll probably dial back in. Martha, the cleaner cost, is that an outside cleaner, not the
No, not Blackburn.
town cleaner?
No. This is a woman who, Lynn had an accident and was out for a while. And you're back.
Oh, she's still muted.
You're still muted.
Now she's on.
Well, we're waiting.
Oh, you're there. I think you're on, Lynn. Can you talk? No. She's on. She's on.
Oh, there she is. Yay.
Okay.
Press whatever you pressed again.
TV.
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, there we go.
Just a bit of a delay. I don't know where it's coming from, but okay, fine. All right, Lynn,
Yes,
you'd be willing to go to 35 hours per week?
yes.
Okay. So Lynn would be willing to go to 35. Kim, keep it 29?
No,
That's
we
a
want
danger zone.
no, we want to keep her
That's-
where she is. To where she is.
That's not the point of having them go to 35.
25,
Ready.
22,
Is that another-
25.
25, 22 to 25 for Kim? I'm messing with you.
Yeah,
Okay, and then the cleaner for 6 hours per week at minimum wage. And this is someone that Lynn found when she was sick. Lynn, do you want to indicate, was she a volunteer or she came to you in a kind of a unique way?
yeah, she's a volunteer. She helps with, the thing that we had, the fair that we had, President's for Paws had, and she helps me, she volunteers. We go do the adoption events at Smithland together. I've known her for years. I've known her for 20 years. She's a resident here in town.
So Lynn and Kim have been straight out between kittens and dogs and.
Well, other things too. I actually have a list if anybody would like me to print it out for them. It's been the past, let's see, 3 weeks to a month. It's been raccoons, 11 calls, skunks, 3, coyote with a trap on it, hawk, 2 bats, the poor dog that was found passed away in the water, missing dog, the deer on the ice, puppies brought in from out of state. I've had a restraining order. 10 times I've dealt with that. 10 times, 11 times the complaint on Short Hill Road. Dogs getting loose from their owners. I do the adoption events on my own time, but any adoptions, the paperwork and all that stuff that gets done when they come to actually pick up the animal. Plus clean the shelter, the vet visits, coordinating the donations that people drop off, bringing food to residents. That's just something we do occasionally, that don't have the money when we have the extra food that we get from Smithland. But yeah, I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. We're nonstop. The phone rings from 7 a.m. till sometimes 11 at night.
How does this
And we are
compare to a couple years ago?
responsible
Sorry. I'm sorry.
What?
How does it compare to
No.
a couple years ago? It seems like it's getting busier.
Oh, it's busier. Yeah, and people are dumping their animals. And we had, we did have somebody move, thank God, that was a big contributor to a lot of animals that we took in, but we still are dealing with the woman down at the beach. Yeah, it's still an issue down there. hoping someday we'll get an
Is there any
ordinance for
option for
that
us to not
situation.
care for the animals and like bring them to some other organization that does this and
Oh, they're
pays for
full,
this?
full. Everybody's full. Connecticut is in a really bad crisis with animals. And we also have, you know, that cat room and everything that was built for the shelter. I mean,
what did they do
you
30
can't.
years ago?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. We just seem to spend more and more and more. And I feel like
Yeah.
because we spend more, we grow more. And at some point, like we have to decide to stop spending in order to stop growing. And like what services we're providing versus what services we just say, that's not something we can provide. And where does that line end? Where do
I
we?
would assume that your animal control also has an ordinance on how you developed it many years ago. We can look at it and see what it says that we're supposed to be providing and if
Yeah.
we've gone above and beyond, or if we need to pull it back a little, we can look at that. So if you would like to hold off, I'm happy to go and pull the ordinance book. and
I mean,
see
I'm
what-
just
I
one
would think we
person
have to
here.
hold off anyway, because there are a lot of adjustments to salary here that it'd be great if Anita could
Mhm.
put them in, so we really have a number that we're looking at for this page, but other towns have merged their animal control, combined. I think Waterford and New London are together, maybe East Lyme.
I think it's East Lyme and isn't it East Lyme and Waterford and
East Lyme, Waterford, and New London.
So,
Mhm.
So that's.
I mean, those are things,
They're in a building, but they're still separate. They're still separate. New London is a separate animal control. They're in the same building. Waterford East Lyme is a separate animal control.
Mhm.
Once again, we are just
Little
one.
Sabre.
so I guess it's-
I don't know what's going on with Old Saybrook. Once again, we are just one person working at the shelter every
Yeah.
day. And I mean, if you start telling the townspeople, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're not going to do that, then we're going to, I mean, this is something that we've always done since I worked for Martha years and years ago. I mean, I've been there almost
The other
20
Martha,
years.
not me.
Yeah, not you, Martha, But if you
Lynn,
look,
what does
I
the town
mean,
of Lyme do?
Tim, does the Lyme provide anything?
no, they can't even get a hold of him half the time. No, they don't.
No.
They let I mean, I think that he'll go out and dispatch an animal that needs to be shot because I think he can carry a gun. I'm not 100% sure, but I get calls all the time from the state police. For Lyme, and I tell them I'm not Lyme. I'm not Lyme. I get calls from residents from Lyme. We're not Lyme. Do we even have an animal control? So, and I think he gets paid I don't know. I think he gets his health insurance and gets paid some minimal amount every week. I don't really, get that involved in that, but we get a lot of calls, but we don't go out on the calls for Lyme, just like I get called by other towns to go out and assist. And honestly, I don't have the time to do that.
Lynn, so a proposal on the table, rather than your precise request, is to increase your hours from 30 to 35 and to increase your assistance to part-time hours from 22 to 25. Does that make sense?
Between 22 and 25. But I mean, honestly, if I wasn't planning on going 5 hours, but I will. I mean, if that's what works for you guys, that's fine with me too. I mean, I'm basically there that much anyway. So,
I think-
whatever is.
And then.
I think one of the, well, wait, hold on. One of the problems too is that Lynn's on vacation. Then the animals still have to get fed. Somebody has to go in the morning, somebody has to go in the afternoon,
Mhm.
feed. And then Kim also, if she's on, has to respond to any calls.
Mhm.
So those are the weeks where her hours can slightly go a little
Mhm.
higher because she's covering.
Mhm.
But.
And then I had my Lyme disease twice. I was out for, a good amount of time for that, a week at Christmas. And then I think it was almost 2 weeks the first time it happened. So
So then we become more
with
of a
it just
skeletal
being
staff.
us, yeah, I mean, what do we do? If it's just me and her, who's supposed to cover? Obviously, if I have 4 weeks vacation that I have to use, somebody's got to cover it while I'm gone.
Mhm.
Right?
If you'd all like to volunteer a day, we could probably take care of it.
We do have a lot of, I do have a volunteer that's been coming in the past, coming in the morning and coming in at night. So then I come in and Kim comes in and cleans and I clean and handle any paperwork, any, calls and everything else that we have to do, So that has helped, but that's not, and we have some volunteers that are coming in now.
Okay.
Excuse me?
To what extent do the police, can they get involved in things like this?
They'll help out, but no, they've never, they don't, they helped with the dog, that was frozen and with the deer on the ice, I mean,
took
we
care of
call
our
them and ask
raccoon.
for assist. Yeah, if a raccoon has to be dispatched, then we have to call them.
Can they do restraining orders?
For animal control?
Yeah, she mentioned that. She said she does.
No,
Oh, I thought
we do. Yeah, the officers do not. We're not run by the police department. We're run by the selectmen. So every town is different. Some are run by the police department, but,
there seems like a lot of work to do and
it is a
might
lot
need
of work
extra
to
help.
do.
I mean, there's the dog
Especially when you're away.
licenses alone. There's something like is it 1,800 dogs in this town? Is that for the dog licenses?
I don't know the
think
exact number, but,
it should
but I,
Charge more so they pay for their jellyfish. I believe that, I would bet there's more dogs than that.
Licenses.
They're just not
They charge
registered.
money.
Doesn't have a dog
Oh,
in a
yeah,
What's the license?
I can
Pop that
guarantee
puppy
you
up.
$8.
to get
Oh,
somebody
that's
to
not enough
license their
money.
dog.
I wonder why people are
To
letting their
get
dogs
somebody-
go.
Let's move on. Does anybody have any questions, any further questions for Lynn?
No.
No, then Martha, I think we defer this and you,
Sure, go.
Anita recalculates and the Board of Selectmen
So
thinks
from
about
a-
it.
I'm looking at it, if we put the part-timer to 25 hours a week and then maybe add another 40 hours for the 4 weeks of vacation that she has to cover because it's extra hours. I mean, from a labor point of view, that typically doesn't get you in trouble if it's an occasional for a reason like that,
Yep.
that it's fine. But
Yeah.
budgeting at 29 hours is not a good idea, I don't think. Again, if municipal is the same as,
Municipality, because our, does say 30, we have to work 30 hours.
right? Yeah, well, it's the same in business, but if you have an employee that's working that 29 hours consistently,
Has to stop.
Yeah.
And then if it's a sporadic, it's okay, but if it's more than, a couple weeks in a row.
Well,
Let's,
and if-
let me do some homework on
Yeah.
what our average has been since July.
Oh.
Or the
So
last
it
few
would just
months.
be
When
25 for the assistant, 35 for Lynn, and an additional 40
required
for the part-time
for the part-time.
to cover for vacation time
And no
that Lynn's out.
cleaner and
I don't know about that. That's,
I mean, it seems
mean,
like Lynn has other more valuable things she could be spending her time
Then
doing.
Okay.
Cleaning.
I think,
Yeah.
do we have
moving
any
on.
more questions for Lynn?
No.
I think you're good.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn.
All right.
Are we up?
Any more questions? Let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Anita, cleaner is a question for Martha. I'm fine with it,
Okay.
We'll have,
Was there a reason why I wouldn't do background? Was it like specific cleaning?
it's basically to come in because they're out of the building, so they have someone come in who cleans. She's filled in. Anita, she had a little extra money.
Take it easy.
She used it.
more.
And then she-
Do we have to like bid that? Do
No,
we have
no,
to like,
minimum wage, it's 6 hours.
but not bid, but like
It's minimum wage.
hiring someone, do you have to go through a process?
Oh, yeah, Jill will put her through the process.
And do you have to offer that up as a job that other
Probably.
people could possibly
Yeah, it's my friend.
interview for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, like,
We can, but we're just trying to get the position and then we can go through
Winnie
the
got her
process.
job the same
We
way.
can't do I'm not gonna do a
this
process
is
until
gonna
we
be-
have a position.
That-
We don't have one. She filled in for a
I
couple of weeks.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm looking at this and like, after all this additional stuff that we add, this budget is gonna double since 2021.
Well, not quite, but almost.
No, it's gonna double.
Yeah. Yes.
Once you add 10,000 to that plus the cleaner of 14,000, you're doubling the budget.
It's gonna go up
It
to
can't keep doubling.
one.
But I think there's also a
1.6.
reality that a lot of people got pets during COVID that they're dumping.
But what is Lyme doing?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And I
So
think
what's-
that Lynn's finding
They bring
animals
them
that
down
get
here.
dumped here.
Yeah, but like, at what point are we like, you took an animal that you can't take? We can't all be responsible for other people's stuff. Like, this is
Well,
getting
but-
unbelievably.
Martha said that there's an ordinance on it.
Yeah, let's look at
And
that.
it's an issue for the Board of Selectmen. I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
a legitimate question.
I agree.
How much aid should we give to our animals in the community? like
I will
animals.
say that between 23, 24 and then 24, 25, there was a almost $25,000
Correct.
increase. That was a huge jump.
Correct.
So it's like, other ones were just going slowly.
There was a
What
bit
was
of-
that
there was a
adjustment?
bit of a
What happened there that
difference
we were?
Because they were getting donations in kind.
Yeah,
That
right.
weren't getting accounted for, so there's a little bit of.
Right.
money there.
That's a good question.
She was just sitting on money in her
I'd
own
be curious
account.
to
That's
know
why-
That
what
was
revenue
awful.
That's
is.
why the monies look very.
Is she
different.
allowed to,
Yes.
are we allowed to have a volunteer?
Volunteer doesn't seem very professional.
Well, not just
We have
professional, but like,
volunteers every single Saturday. There are volunteers there. They take the dogs out, they take.
and our
walks with the
insurance
dogs.
covers all those people?
It's been,
Cause
Better.
I mean, it's different when you're sitting in here as a volunteer as opposed to like dealing with animals.
Well, I think any employee needs
it's
to
not
be
an
covered
employee,
by
they're
our,
volunteer.
I mean,
they're volunteers.
anybody doing work for us needs to be covered.
If they get bit,
If they get bit,
But
Our
if
insurance is
county's
gonna pay for
working
it.
for us here and
What?
trips on the
if they
stair,
get
we
bit,
need
our
to be
insurance is
covered
gonna
as
pay
well.
for
Well, that's the question.
it, whether they're an employee or not.
so we
Well,
need to
that's-
make sure that
from a
that's,
liability standpoint.
There's no capital request for animal control, so the air conditioning for the cats must be in good shape. And
Yeah.
so,
It's like
Yeah.
2 years out.
Yeah.
But I mean, Candace is right. I think you mentioned the account, or no, whoever mentioned the account, Matt mentioned the accounting adjustment, that
Yeah.
there were a ton of years we were undercounting what things were costing because they were getting paid out of other places.
And I don't think any.
So some of the
general
increase
revenue-
isn't actually a change.
Intake this year from,
Let's clean that up.
We cleaned it, well, but it was getting paid for by the old line vets.
Right.
It was a
So-
cost to the animal
So the vet
control, but the
bills weren't-
vet, right, the vet bills weren't in the budget.
Sometimes you would get one, and
Right.
it would be like a partial,
Right.
and that would come out. Another time it'd be like somebody would be down and just drop off a check for $500 for vet bills. And then it would just keep getting applied. And this was back when Nicole and Amy were here and they didn't know, couldn't make which or well because they didn't know. You get a bill, you'd see it was for $490, but we only owed 110. And they were like, well, what happened? How did you get there?
Right.
And how do you do that
It's
for
not
the
a
auditors?
filter.
So that's why we went to, and there were many, I mean, you and Jude worked when you were specialists, you say, look, we just want, and Anita and I did a lot of work with Lynn last year saying, just bring in the donations.
Right.
Send the bills over, we'll pay it out of the donation.
Right. So some of that increase is that the vet bills are now actually being accounted for.
And then she's got revenue on the other.
And then
side.
there's revenue on the other side that's offsetting.
As of November, it was like 4,500.
There we go.
Where we used to have none.
Right. Oh, I don't know where it is.
Well, that was half a year. and
It got folded and shoved in my bag.
That's security. On that, but